June 12th, on this day, in 1415, Alfonso V of Aragon married his cousin Maria, the 14-year-old daughter of Henry III of Castile, in a ceremony held at the Cathedral of Valencia. This dynastic marriage was typical of the era, aiming to strengthen family ties among European royal houses. In 1701, the Act of Settlement was passed by the Parliament of England. This important law continues to regulate the succession to the British throne, shaping the future of the monarchy. In 1707, Bahadur Shah I secured the Mughal throne by defeating his brother Azam Shah at the Battle of Jajau, marking a significant turning point in the Mughal dynasty's succession. In 1770, English weaver James Hargreaves was granted a patent for the spinning jenny, the first multiple spinning machine. This invention revolutionized cotton spinning and greatly accelerated the Industrial Revolution. In 1776, the Constitutional Convention of the Colony of Virginia adopted the Virginia Declaration of Rights. This document served as a model for the Bill of Rights that was later added to the United States Constitution. In 1806, John Roebling, the pioneering civil engineer known for designing innovative suspension bridges, was born. He would later design the iconic Brooklyn Bridge in New York. In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte and his army invaded Russia, launching one of the most ambitious and ultimately disastrous military campaigns in European history. In 1829, Johanna Spyri, the Swiss author best known for her beloved children's book Heidi, was born in Switzerland. In 1830, the French colonization of Algeria began when 34,000 French soldiers landed at Sidi Farouche, 27 kilometers west of Algiers, marking the start of over a century of French colonial rule in North Africa. In 1849, Louis P. Hazlitt patented the gas mask, a groundbreaking invention that would later play a crucial role in protecting people from hazardous air during industrial work and warfare. In 1862, Confederate General J.E.B. Stuart began his famous ride around the Union Army near Richmond, Virginia, becoming a legendary figure in the American Civil War. In 1864, the Battle of Trevilian Station, the largest and bloodiest all-cavalry battle of the American Civil War, ended with a tactical Confederate victory and a successful Union retreat in Louisa County, Virginia. In 1897, Anthony Eden, who would become Britain's Prime Minister from 1955 to 1957, was born. In 1898, the Philippines, under the leadership of Emilio Aguinaldo, declared its independence from Spain. This day is celebrated as Independence Day in the Philippines and by Filipinos worldwide. In 1901, Cuba became an American protectorate by accepting the Platt Amendment, which placed significant restrictions on Cuban sovereignty following the Spanish-American War. In 1915, David Rockefeller, who would become an influential international banker and philanthropist, was born. In 1918, the first ever airplane bombing raid by an American unit took place in France during World War I, marking a new era in aerial warfare. In 1920, the Republican Party nominated Warren G. Harding for president and Calvin Coolidge for vice president at their national convention. In 1921, President Warren Harding urged every young man in the United States to attend military training camps, reflecting the nation's focus on preparedness after World War I. In 1924, George Herbert Walker Bush, who would serve as vice president from 1981 to 1989 and as president of the United States from 1989 to 1993, was born in Massachusetts. In 1926, Brazil withdrew from the League of Nations in protest over plans to admit Germany, highlighting tensions in international diplomacy during the interwar years. In 1927, Italian inventor and electrical engineer Guglielmo Marconi married Maria Cristina Bezzi-Scali. Marconi's innovations in wireless communication shaped modern telecommunications. In 1929, Anne Frank, the German diarist whose writings from World War II became a symbol of hope and resilience during the Holocaust, was born. In 1931, the notorious gangster Al Capone and 68 of his associates were indicted for violating prohibition laws and related charges, marking a major move against organized crime. In 1937, 8 of Joseph Stalin's generals were sentenced to death during the purges in the Soviet Union, reflecting the era's widespread political repression. In 1939, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, held its first induction ceremony. Legendary players such as Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and Honus Wagner were among the inaugural class. In 1942, American bombers struck the oil refineries of Ploesti, Romania, for the first time, targeting a vital source of fuel for the Axis war effort during World War II. In 1963, civil rights leader Medgar Evers was fatally shot outside his home in Jackson, Mississippi. His murder drew national attention and helped galvanize the American civil rights movement. In 1964, Nelson Mandela, the South African anti-apartheid activist, was sentenced to life in prison. Mandela would spend 27 years incarcerated before eventually receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993 and becoming president of South Africa the following year. In 1967, the United States Supreme Court unanimously struck down state laws banning interracial marriage with its decision in Loving v. Virginia, ruling such bans unconstitutional under the Equal Protection and Due Process Clauses of the 14th Amendment. In 1972, United States Air Force General John Laval testified before a House of Representatives committee defending his rules of engagement orders regarding American military operations in Vietnam. In 1977, David Berkowitz, known as the Son of Sam, was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for a series of murders that terrorized New York City. In 1981, the action-adventure film Raiders of the Lost Ark, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, premiered. The film was a huge commercial success and initiated a beloved franchise. In 1985, the United States House of Representatives approved $27 million in aid to the Nicaraguan Contras, reflecting the political and military tensions of the Cold War era. In 1987, President Ronald Reagan delivered his famous speech near the Berlin Wall, urging Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down this wall. His words became symbolic of the end of the Cold War and the division of Europe. In 1990, American singer Mariah Carey released her debut album, titled Mariah Carey, launching one of the most successful careers in pop music history. In 1991, Boris Yeltsin won Russia's first presidential election with 57% of the vote. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, Yeltsin led the country through major political and economic reforms toward capitalism. In 1991, Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines began erupting for the first time in 600 years, leading to one of the largest volcanic eruptions of the 20th century. In 1994, the Boeing 777, the world's largest twin-engine jet, completed its maiden flight. Known as the 777, this aircraft marked a milestone in commercial aviation and typically carries up to 451 passengers. In 2003, American actor Gregory Peck, best known for portraying characters of honesty and integrity such as Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, died at the age of 87. In 2016, the deadliest mass shooting in United States history at the time occurred when a gunman opened fire at Pulse, an LGBTQ nightclub in Orlando, Florida. 49 people were killed and more than 50 wounded, in what became one of the worst attacks against the LGBTQ community. In 2018, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met President Donald Trump at the Singapore summit, marking the first time a sitting president of the United States met with a North Korean leader. The meeting was seen as a significant, if tentative, step toward easing tensions on the Korean peninsula.
Subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's events.